Hello and welcome to another Digital Dimensions CAD cast. I'll be your host, Joseph Richter, and today we're going to talk about SOLIDWORKS 2013 What's New for Model Display, specifically appearances in PhotoView 360. On the agenda today, we're going to talk about the enhancements to adding appearances, the new ability to copy and paste appearances, the new handling of texture maps with regard to appearances, surface finishes, and decals, a new setting in appearances that will allow for a rounding or filleting effect of sharp edges in a final render. They've added some new appearances and enhanced some old ones, as well as support for a new appearance file type of LXP, which gives us access to Moto appearances. They've added some new final render controls for things like reflections and refractions. One of the biggest time savers, they've added the ability to leverage network computers with the new network renderer. And lastly, in the final render dialog box, they've added enhancements such that you'll be able to compare multiple renderings or perform color correction on your final render. And new for SOLIDWORKS 2013, when adding appearances, you'll notice that the Appearance Target toolbar now has a thumbtack icon to pin it up on screen, thus allowing you to reuse the same entity filter over and over again when applying more appearances. In addition to this thumbtack, you'll also notice that there's a new Appearance Filter icon. What this does is it allows you to use as an entity filter all appearances that are already on your model. For example, when you want to replace all the blue appearances on a model with a red appearance, let's say, this new appearance filter will grab all instances of that blue and allow you to replace it with red in one shot. The next great enhancement to SOLIDWORKS 2013 is the ability to copy and paste appearances. Okay, in the past we could find the same appearance and apply it, but sometimes you made modifications to an appearance and it would be really nice to copy that appearance and paste it on another entity. And with that, let's get into SOLIDWORKS to take a look at this. First up, for SOLIDWORKS 2013, what's new with regard to appearances? Here I want to show the new enhancement of when dropping on an appearance on our appearance target, we now have the ability to pin the target open. From here, I simply select the entity that I want to apply the appearance to. So here I'm going to use faces. When applying an appearance, it's now going to grab faces as I quickly grab my appearance and drag and drop it onto the entity that I'm applying it to. The other great enhancement for SOLIDWORKS 2013 is the ability to click on an appearance and copy it. You can then go to select the item that you want to paste it onto. So here, between copy and paste, along with the appearance target being able to be pinned open, is going to make quick work of applying appearances to your models. Now, on my Christmas train here, you'll notice that I have multiple colors applied to multiple bodies throughout this part. You'll also notice that as I go to my Appearance tab, I have multiple appearances, many of which are actually the same appearance. Okay, part of this happened based on how they were applied to the model. Okay, so multiple features were given an appearance, multiple faces were given an appearance, etc. Okay, now in the past, when you wanted to make a change to, let's say, all the gloss red, when you double click to edit one of those, it would only edit the one that you double clicked on. So this made it very painful when making changes to your appearances when you applied the same appearance on multiple faces or whatever it was, and it broke it out into multiple appearance entities. But now in SOLIDWORKS 2013, this new appearance target of appearance filter is going to eliminate that problem. So if I select on that appearance filter and then I apply one of these appearances to one of these gloss reds, you'll notice that it's grabbing all of the light red entities. And after I drop that on there, you'll notice that all of my gloss reds pretty much went away, the light gloss red, in favor of a new dark gloss red. So this very quickly grabbed all of the like appearances and allowed me to change them together by adding a new appearance and then group them together. So now I can go ahead and apply this to the other gloss red that I had just modified manually, and again you'll see that it has combined them together. So no matter what the appearance was in the past, SOLIDWORKS is now going to look at all of the like appearances and allow you to handle them as a group. I think that combined with, if you take a look at my wheels here, they are wrought iron and I have two colors for that. Okay, combine the appearance filter with the new copy appearance and paste appearance, okay, you'll notice that the wrought iron is now one entity. This, at very least, is going to allow you to clean up your models. So you don't necessarily have to drag a new appearance to use this appearance filter. I know I'm going to be going through a lot of my models using copy and paste with this appearance filter to condense the appearance tree, so that way when I do want to make a change, I can adjust the whole group directly and update it. So that's a wonderful change for SOLIDWORKS 2013 with regard to appearances. And I'm going to go ahead and change this back to wrought iron. And with that, let's get back to the slideshow. And the next great enhancement for SOLIDWORKS 2013 is in regard to appearance scaling. In the past, when we applied an appearance or a surface finish or a decal, SOLIDWORKS chose to scale that item to the model. Okay, well now in SOLIDWORKS 2013, they're giving us the ability to turn off that option of automatically scaling the appearance to fit the geometry and basically revert to the default scale of that appearance texture map. Okay, so in the examples here, you can see the auto scale in 2012 and prior. This checkerboard pattern has been applied to multiple faces, and the checkerboard pattern has readjusted based on the size of the face. And now in 2013, once I uncheck automatically scale appearances, textures, etc. to the model size, it will then revert to the texture map scale of the item I'm applying to the model. And so that is why under my image here for default scale of SOLIDWORKS 2013, it's the default scale of the texture map. Okay, so here on this model, I'm going to go ahead and apply this checkerboard pattern. And as I apply this to multiple faces, you'll notice that the map is changing size based on the face I apply it to. Now, I know in our rollouts we were doing wood grains, but those are kind of hard to see, and I want to fully explain exactly what this option is going to do for us. Okay, after all, if I did wood grain, it would do the same thing. This checkerboard just makes it much easier to see. Alright, so the new option in SOLIDWORKS 2013, when you go to Tools Options under the Document Properties, is found under Model Display. Here under Model Display, we can uncheck Automatically Scale Appearance Textures, Surface Finishes, and Decals to the model size. Once I do that, and I will go ahead and eliminate all of these texture maps, so you can see that it is, in fact, going to map the same scale with the adjacent face. And again, that's because this is reverting back to whatever the texture map scale itself was initially when it was created. So the size option when making your custom appearances will now be respected in the model. The next great enhancement that they added for model display and appearances, specifically rendering, is now the ability to round sharp edges in a rendering. Okay, so on my actual model, there are no fillets. But if I wanted to soften up my render, I can go into the Appearance Properties, hit the Advanced button, check out the Illumination tab, and underneath PhotoView Illumination, there's this new Round Sharp Corners option. And it allows you to plug in a value for a fillet size. Now when doing that and you generate a render from that part, here you can see on my example I have round sharp edges set to 50 thou and 100 thou. Keeping in mind that this is a render only modification. It will not change the physical model itself. It's just going to make for a softer looking rendering. And for rounding sharp edges in SOLIDWORKS 2013, here again I would remind you that my model has no fillets on it. And in fact, let me go ahead and add in PhotoView and turn on my preview window. And with my preview window up, you can see that there are sharp edges in my rendering as in my model. Now, the new change for SOLIDWORKS 2013, when you go to your appearances and take a look at the appearance that's been applied to the model, again, you hit the Advanced button and check out the Illumination tab. And at the very bottom of the Illumination tab, in fact, let me collapse it so you can see this, okay, is the ability to round sharp edges under PhotoView Illumination. And you just simply set the amount for your fillet to be applied to those sharp edges. And then watch your preview update. Maybe I'll speed up the preview in these areas. Here you can see that it is in fact adding what appears to be a fillet on that model edge. But again, keep in mind this is only going to be visible in your preview window or in your final render to produce a smoother looking rendering without physically changing the model. And some additional changes to appearances in SOLIDWORKS 2013. They've enhanced a few existing appearances, specifically brushed metals, so that they are now anisotropic, or that they will now show directionally dependent reflections. Thus, it'll create a more realistic appearance. And they've also added some new appearances in SOLIDWORKS 2013. In fact, we are just talking about brushed metals, and under metals, they've added the following brushed coarse appearances. We have aluminum, nickel, and tungsten. They've also added some new clear plastic appearances, as well as underneath stones and architectural for marble, you'll see that they've added some translucent marble. And under plastics, they've added some wax appearances. And finally, the most popular underneath the organic appearances, they've added some liquids. So as you take a look at the drink selection here, we have milk, orange juice, light beer, dark beer, amber beer, whiskey, white wine, and red wine. Anybody else feel like a drink? Back over here in SOLIDWORKS 2013, you'll notice that I have a mini bar here along with all the drinks and a few candles, as well as a digital dimension sign, all utilizing the new appearances in SOLIDWORKS 2013. In fact, the only appearance that I have in here that was from SOLIDWORKS 2012 and prior are the thick glass that I applied to the glasses and the mahogany wood on the mini bar. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my preview window and show you what this looks like. In fact, it might speed up the rendering around the amber beer or around the light beer. By doing this, you're asking SOLIDWORKS to apply that area of the rendering first on the preview, so you can check out to see if that area of the rendering is doing what you expect it to do. Maybe you made a change in that area and you're only interested in seeing just that portion of the image. So again, you just move your cursor over there and it dedicates the rendering update to whatever you're mousing over. So it kind of looks like you're creating the painting while it goes through there. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. Gotta love the magic of video editing. Okay, so here you can see that my red wine and my white wine has been rendered, along with the candle wax and the shot of whiskey. Again, the amber beer, the light beer, and the dark beer. And here's the orange juice and the milk. Also new in SOLIDWORKS 2013 is a new appearance file type that's supported, which is LXP. Now, LXP is Luxology's file format for Moto appearances. If you've been following SOLIDWORKS' render engine technology changes over the last few releases, you'll remember that we took our PhotoWorks tool and replaced it with PhotoView 360. Well, the technology behind PhotoView 360 is Moto. So now, new to SOLIDWORKS 2013, we can take advantage of Moto appearances. This is huge for anybody doing rendering, because this is going to allow you to expand the default SOLIDWORKS library. So then the next big question is, where can you get these Moto appearances? Well, the other incredible thing is SOLIDWORKS subscription customers can now download Moto appearances directly from Luxology after logging in through the customer portal. And let me take you over to show you how to do this. Okay, so after you log into your SOLIDWORKS customer portal, you'll notice that underneath downloads, we now have the ability to click on PhotoView 360 appearances. From here, it specifies that subscription customers who are using SOLIDWORKS 2013 will now have access to the asset sharing portion of the Luxology website, where we can download new appearances for use in PhotoView 360. Now keep in mind this is only for SOLIDWORKS 2013 and newer, simply because SOLIDWORKS 2012 cannot read LXP file types. So in order to do this, you just click on SOLIDWORKS Asset Sharing Site, and then it says Welcome SOLIDWORKS PhotoView 360 users. From here, they describe that we can only download new appearances or images. So take me to the assets. And from the Luxology Share site, under Assets, we can go to Materials. This is where all the Moto appearances are. And as you take a look here, the categories, they've got fabrics, fur, as well as a bunch of other categories for you to download. Now they have 846 different appearances for you to download as of December 12th, when the last user uploaded a material before the recording of this CADcast. And in order to download one of these, you just simply click on the item that you want and then specify download and then save. Once you save it, you'll need to unzip it into a folder and then point at that folder with SOLIDWORKS in order to use it. And with that, let's go into SOLIDWORKS to take a look at this. Once you've downloaded your Moto appearances, simply go to the Appearance tab on the task pane, and then you're going to need to add a new file location for your appearance. Now, I've stored my Moto appearances under C SOLIDWORKS data, where the toolbox is, under a new folder called Moto Appearances. Once you've added that folder in there, just simply go to that folder and find the appearance that you want to apply. And here I'm going to scroll to the bottom and I want to show wolf hair. As I drop it onto the part, SOLIDWORKS warns me that I'm applying a Moto appearance, and it lets me know that it's going to look a lot different in SOLIDWORKS than it will when you go to render it in either PhotoView 360 or in Moto. And then it warns you that you will have very limited editing capabilities in the appearance. And just like the warning said, it doesn't look very much like wolf hair. So in order to see this, you simply go to PhotoView 360 drop-down and turn on your preview window. And once that preview starts to come in, I'll go ahead and speed it up in this area, and you can see that it in fact is starting to look a lot like hair. Now typically when we apply a render to a part, very often we are camouflaging our parts by adding, texture maps and things like this to cover the model so it looks good. Well, when you think about these Moto appearances, it can also be thought of as camouflage, but I would say next level camouflage, like a ghillie suit. For example, all of this wolf's hair is adding geometry to the render that's not actually physically in the 3D model. Okay, so these hair objects are not part of my model. And that's really the thing that you typically have to balance when your final output is renderings for a proposal. A lot of the items that you're trying to propose, you haven't come up with yet, so you kind of need to camouflage what you're trying to show. So these Moto appearances are going to save you a lot of time if you ever need to show something with carpet or with hair or grass, something that would take a while to model but yet might be critical to the final design. So I think these Moto appearances are going to save a lot of people a lot of time. So again, this Moto ghillie suit is showing my sphere is no longer bald, but it has hair. It's like Rogaine for CAD. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and close this, and let's go ahead and talk about editing these appearances. Well, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you will not be able to modify these fur textures. At least I haven't been able to yet. Instead, I'm going to go over to a metal appearance, and I'm going to apply this aluminum hull. Okay, again, it warns you that you're going to have limited editing capabilities. Okay, so in fact, as I double click on that appearance, you'll notice that really the only thing that it gives me the ability to do is in regard to the mapping. Okay, so if I went to mapping and maybe gave it some mapping, maybe a direction, and maybe even a size, okay, I can modify that Moto appearance so that way I can size it to my part. And in order to see this, by the way, I could pull up my preview window, but another question that we get a lot is there any real view type view for these Moto appearances? And the answer is yes. Actually, if you go to the PhotoView 360 dropdown, there's something here called the integrated preview. When that's turned on, it's kind of like real view for these Moto appearances, or any rendering for that matter. Keep in mind that the integrated preview may not be very practical. It's not like real view to where it updates immediately, because once you make a change, it takes a few seconds to update. And now, to give you greater editing capabilities with these Moto appearances, what you need to do is simply save that appearance out as a PhotoView 360 appearance. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and save this Moto asset appearance out as a P2M file in a folder that I've mapped. Again, that's in my appearance file location for Moto Materials. And once you've done that, simply double click and edit, and you'll notice that you have a few more options, including the ability to change the color of this appearance. Your results will vary depending on how the appearance was created in Moto. Like if it's using a fur shader and things like this, then you probably won't be able to modify it too much. But again, anything that's based on a texture, you're going to have better results. Again, this integrated preview is probably not going to be near as fast as it appears here on the video, as I've had video editing techniques at my disposal to make it look good. So use at your discretion. And the other thing I would point out is, as you're downloading these Moto appearances, you have to download them one at a time. Okay, it took me quite a while to actually download all 846 different appearances. And again, that number is as of December 12th, 2012, and the Moto users are able to upload new appearances whenever they want. So that number might already be outdated depending on when you're viewing this CADcast. Also new to SOLIDWORKS 2013, they gave us the ability to control some new settings for our final render output. They include reflections and refractions, and we can set an upper limit on both of these items at 32. And back over here in SOLIDWORKS, you'll see that I have my Christmas train positioned in between two mirrors. And I also have a camera view that was created just above the train, looking over the train into the mirror, so that way we can talk about reflections. So new for SOLIDWORKS 2013 and PhotoView 360, when you go into the options, you'll notice that there's a new setting for number of reflections and number of refractions for your final render. If I set my number of reflections down to 1, I can hit OK here and enter my camera view. And with my camera view up, I'm going to go into PhotoView 360 and turn on my preview window. And here in the preview window, you can see the train and the one reflection. So if we go into PhotoView 360 options again, we can crank those reflections up to maybe, let's say, 3. And from here again, you can see the train and the 3 reflections as requested. You can request up to 32 different reflections now in PhotoView 360 2013. And with that, let's take a look at the next file for refractions. And for refractions, if we take a look at a top view on this file, you'll notice that I have 9 transparent surface bodies, and behind each of them I have a number indicating what layer that number is sitting behind. So as I return to my starting view here, you can see that I have 9 numbers, therefore I have 9 transparent faces here. Now, what's new to SOLIDWORKS 2013, when you hit PhotoView 360's options for the final render, you'll notice that we can now set the number of refractions to calculate for. Now, a number of refraction is described as the number of transparent surfaces for which we require SOLIDWORKS to calculate the light passing through. So if I ask for 3 refractions, that means we're asking SOLIDWORKS Render to calculate through 3 transparent surfaces. So as I did that, you can now see that the number 3 appears. I could do that again, PhotoView 360 options, and request for 7 refractions. This would enable 7 layers of transparent surfaces, allowing light to pass through. Or rather, 7 layers of transparent surfaces for which SOLIDWORKS is required to calculate the light passing through. Now keep in mind, on a window actually has 2 transparent surfaces. One as the light enters the window, and one transparent surface as light exits the window. So if you had an item like a drink glass, you actually have 4 transparent surfaces that you need to calculate refractions for, which means you're going to need a minimum of 4 on your refraction count if you want to see something on the other side of that drink cup. So again, if you have a transparent part or a window and you want to see something behind it, then you need a minimum of 2 refractions in order to request PhotoView 360 Render to calculate light passing through each transparent surface. This next enhancement for SOLIDWORKS 2013 is the network render. This is probably going to be the largest time saver That is to say, if you have installed the PhotoView 360 Network Render Client on other workstations within your company, then you can leverage those computers' crunching power to assist you in your rendering calculations. Keep in mind that these client computers do not need to have a license of SOLIDWORKS, nor do they need SOLIDWORKS installed on them. Just this PhotoView 360 Network Render Client. And once you've enabled the PhotoView 360 option to enable network rendering, then your host computer will seek out those network render clients that are waiting for a job. And also they've added a tab to the final render dialog box. This tab includes statistics about your rendering, such as how long it took to render, or for an in-process render, how much time is left. In order to effectively utilize the network render client, you do need to have clients on standby. So to enter client mode, when you go to Start All Programs in SOLIDWORKS, you can enter PhotoView 360 Network Render Client. Keep in mind that the client computers do not require SOLIDWORKS loaded on them, and then you simply enter the client mode now. Now this computer is waiting on a render job. Also, you'll notice that you have the ability to set your schedule to specify when this computer is available to accept render jobs. And with that, let's go over to SOLIDWORKS to send a job to this computer. And now I'd like to demonstrate the new PhotoView 360 network render capabilities new to SOLIDWORKS 2013. Okay, so in order to take advantage of the network render, just simply go into PhotoView 360 options, and at the very bottom here, you'll see the checkbox for network rendering. Once you toggle that on, you then have enabled network rendering. Now, as you scroll up to the top, I'm going to go ahead and make my image larger, and as I hit OK, PhotoView 360 tells me about the new network rendering capabilities. Now what this box is explaining to you is that SOLIDWORKS subscription service customers can install the PhotoView 360 network render client on multiple computers in their network. Keep in mind that these other computers do not require a license of SOLIDWORKS. Let me repeat that. Any network render client that you want to take advantage of does not require an additional license of SOLIDWORKS. Okay, so this means that you can take advantage of the computers that are within your company after hours. And I'm not just talking about engineering computers, I'm talking about any computers that are on the network. The only requirement is that these computers have the PhotoView 360 network render client installed on that computer, and that they are in client mode. Now, when you do the client mode, you have the option of scheduling when that computer is available to accept a render. So in other words, you can schedule your network render clients to be available after hours or during the weekend or what have you. Okay, in addition to that, it also tells you when network rendering will not help in times like when the rendering could complete on your primary machine in less than 5 minutes, or if the client computers are much less powerful than the main computer, or perhaps if the pre-processing time of your rendering is 30% or more of the total render time, or finally if your network is very slow. So from here I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then finally, when I go into PhotoView 360, I can select Final Render. Okay, so here my computer is pre-processing this image. Once it's done pre-processing this image, it will then divvy up the workload and send it to your network render clients that again are waiting for a render job. Okay, so here in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see that my computer has started to go to work on this rendering. I have a quad core that's hyper-threaded, and that's why you can see 8 squares running around to work on this image. In the lower right-hand corner, you can see the network render clients, and I have 10 network render clients all on standby waiting for a render job. Each of those are quad cores, and they are also hyper-threaded, so I could have up to 80 cores working on this rendering. I guess when you add 80 plus my 8 here, that would be 88 total cores crunching this rendering to significantly increase the render speed, or more importantly, to significantly reduce the amount of time required to produce a rendering. And so in my example here, you'll see that I have the same mini bar that I was showing the new appearances for SOLIDWORKS 2013, and in addition to that I have some Christmas ornaments along with a garland that have been applied with the Moto appearances to make this interesting. And so now you can see that the network render cores have started to process this image and share the workload. So here you can see that it's running through and processing this rendering. Okay, and so now you can see that the rendering has completed, and if we take a look at the statistics, you can see that the pre-processing time for this render was about 3 minutes and 23 seconds, or about 27% of the total render time, which was 12 minutes and 8 seconds. Okay, the statistics further give you more information about what was required to complete this rendering, including, how many geometry surfaces got rendered, how many segments, polygons, etc. So these statistics will help you to understand exactly what was required to generate your rendering. And lastly, the final render dialog box has been improved. We now have thumbnail previews of our recent renderings. They've included a Compare and Options tab, which will allow you to compare multiple renderings side by side to make sure that you're on the right track when making adjustments between renderings. And there's also a new Image Processing tab, which will allow you to make color corrections to your final renders. Keep in mind, any image processing that you perform within SOLIDWORKS will be non-destructive, which means the original rendering shall remain at a 32-bit color quality, so that way you can keep coming back into this final render dialog box to make further adjustments. In order to check out the new PhotoView 360 dialog box enhancements, I do not need to calculate a new final render. Instead, just simply go to Recall Last Rendered Image. That will launch the final render dialog box, and here you can see I'm on my last rendered image. Now from here you'll notice along the bottom we have new thumbnail previews of the prior renderings that were performed. This will come in handy when you want to compare, let's say, one rendering to another, and in fact, as I mentioned compare, you'll notice that we have a new Compare and Options tab. This Compare and Options tab would allow me to compare my rendering with, let's say, a second selected image, and in order to select your second image, simply hold Control on the keyboard and then select your second image. And now you'll see that the image has been split with what we're calling the compare mode of wipe. Wipe would enable you to select and drag the bar right to left in order to see the changes. Now in this example I have my mini bar both with the Christmas decorations and without, so we could say before the party and after the party, although after the party the drinks would probably be gone. Okay, and we also have the compare modes of Spotlight. This will allow you to mouse over the area of the rendering to verify that the change that you were looking for had taken place. Or we also have the compare mode of Side by Side. This shows me both images side by side. Keep in mind with all of these modes that you could actually zoom in and pan around to check out the changes in those areas. And aside from comparing one rendering to another, as I zoom out here, I would mention to you that we could, instead of, like I said, compare multiple renderings, we may want to process the current rendering. So in order to do that, when you go to your Image Processing tab, you can select which render to make adjustments to. And now new to SOLIDWORKS 2013, we can apply some image processing to it, which will enable us to do some color correction on it. So as I drag this color wheel here, I can apply a more red overtone to the image. And then to find out the effects of that color change, I can go back to my Compare and Options and specify that I want to compare with the selected image. And now I can use my same compare modes and wipe over to see the change of my color correction. So with these new enhancements in SOLIDWORKS 2013, I think you'll get to your final render much quicker. And with that, let's get back to the slideshow to close this out. Thanks again for joining me on another DDI CADcast. I'm your host, Joseph Richter. To find more tech tips and CADcasts, please visit us at ddicad.com.